The 2019 Women's March is this weekend in Washington, D.C., but a handful of groups are distancing themselves from the movement because, well, it's unfortunately been tainted by racism and anti-Semitism. I mean, this is only the third march ever, so that sure didn't take long. The Democratic Party, the left-wing racism watchdog Southern Poverty Law Center, and Emily's List, a pro-choice political group, are among those who have now withdrawn their official support for the march. I mean, you know you're in trouble when a march that was started to show women's opposition to Donald Trump is too toxic for even the Democrats. Yikes. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. How quickly we went from pussy hats to charges of anti-Semitism. This 2017 Women's March was the single largest protest in U.S. history, and it helped encourage women to come forward with stories of sexual harassment and assault. Despite this, however, the movement has consistently been hampered by its leadership, and particularly its co-presidents, a small group of previously unknown activists who haven't been forced into the spotlight in 2017 now command a major platform in North American politics and popular discourse. The most controversial of them all right now, though, is Women's March co-chair Tamika Mallory. The problem? Well, she's shown herself to be a fan of Louis Farrakhan. That's the leader of US-based Nation of Islam who has made a career spewing anti-Semitic and homophobic rhetoric. He's hardly the guy you'd expect to be good for the Women's March brand. Yet, despite being called out for associating with Farrakhan, Mallory continues to express support for him, since posting this photo in her Instagram in 2017 and referring to him as the GOAT, or greatest of all time. And Mallory has refused to retract or apologize, saying, "I didn't call him the greatest of all time because of his rhetoric. I called him the greatest of all time because of what he has done in the Black communities." I mean, this is clearly not a good look for the Women's March. Mallory may not be anti-Semitic, but that doesn't matter. She is in charge of an organization that is founded on diversity and inclusion. Look at it this way. If organizers of a conservative Women's March were praising individuals who also happen to be Klansmen or who spewed Islamophobic rhetoric on their Instagram because of, quote, what they've done in the white communities, but don't worry, they don't actually agree with their rhetoric. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied do you think Mallory and her liberal co-chairs would be with that? I'm guessing not so much. I mean, the double standard is ridiculous. I'm disappointed but not surprised. And believe it or not, this isn't even the only accusation of bigotry circulating around the march's co-presidents. For example, the New York Times reported that a Jewish woman who helped organize the first Women's March said that Mallory, Arab-American activist Linda Sarsour, and other co-presidents made anti-Semitic comments at group meetings. And we also have, the march at Humboldt County, California, which is actually canceled because of concerns over participants being majority white. It really baffles me how easy it was for a march about women's rights to devolve into so much bigotry. Now, although the majority of individuals attending the Women's March are, doing so in good faith, the leaders of the organization have tainted the movement and excluded women who do not align with their radical ideas. It seems like Mallory and her co-chairs were catapulted into fame in 2017 by claiming to be fighting for women's rights, but instead of creating a safe, nationwide community for women, they're busy spewing far less radical ideas and aligning themselves with groups that espouse racist, hateful beliefs. In fact, we see this happening with groups like Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement. Original idea? Awesome. The leaders? Not so much. And don't get me wrong, this shouldn't stop you from showing solidarity with other women this weekend if you want, but it should encourage you to hold the march's leaders accountable. In fact, even the original founder of the Women's March, Teresa Shook, has said that the current leaders have steered the movement away from its true course, and that the whole point was to show the capacity of human beings to stand in solidarity and love against the hateful rhetoric that's become a part of the political landscape in the US and around the world. Look, the Women's March should be for everyone. It's for all women regardless of race, gender, religion, or even politics. Otherwise, why even call it a Women's March at all?